Office pranksters of Reddit, what's the best prank you've ever pulled on a coworker? This was a little bit ago, but my coworker, we will call him Bob, decided to make his screensaver pictures of his family. One day he walked away without locking his computer. I copied his directory of pictures to the file share and pointed his screensaver at it. Now I could easily add and remove pictures to his gallery. I then started modifying the pictures in Photoshop. Slowly, all of the pictures of people, his kids, his wife, animals, started to get Bob's face. I work at a grocery store and I love The Office. Inspired by Jim Halpert, I got all of my coworkers to call someone by the wrong name all day. His name is Darren, and everyone called him Daryl. He was so mad about it. At a previous job we took turns with an on-call phone. I got it one week, and found the previous coworker, D, hadn't signed out of Hangouts, which we used company-wide for IM. We worked in cubicle farm sort of environment, and D sat next to C, though sort of back to back. They were pretty good work bros, but not especially close. I waited until both D and C were on phone calls, and messaged C, but it looked like it was coming from D. Hey, my neck is hurting. Would you mind coming over here and rubbing on my shoulders? I was about 5 rows over when I hit send, but we all clearly heard C say, "Excuse me?" I worked with a guy who was kind of an asshole and not very computer literate. He acted as though he was better than everyone, because our business process had a bottleneck where he had to review documents, so he basically acted like a self-important masshole. One day when he was in a meeting, I noticed he had left his computer unlocked, and also that no one else was around when I happened to walk by his cubicle. I did not work near him. I hopped on his machine real quick, took a screenshot of his desktop and the 400 file icons he kept on the desktop, and then made a folder on his C drive called desktop icons, and moved them all in there and set his desktop background to the screenshot. It took him the rest of the day to figure out what was wrong and he had like a vendetta about finding out who did it, but since no one liked him, no one would give him any clues it was me. I did this to an old roommate, except I took it a step further. Before you put the screenshot as a desktop background, rotate the image 180 degrees, then set it as the background, hide all the desktop icons and toolbar, then go into display settings and set the display to rotate 180 degrees. Everything will look normal, except the upside down cursor. Ducking Co-op taped a pickle under my desk. I like pickles and all, but I don't want to smell one for 2 days straight. Put a small RC car in a nearby office trash can, under the bag so you can't see it. Just twitch the remote once in a while to make noise. Whoa, why haven't I heard of this before? Probably because you're not ducking crazy. Mid-90s, cleared a friend co-worker's cube out while he was on vacation in Europe, and sealed it off with crime scene tape. When he came back, called him into our manager's office and told him a fairly elaborate, extremely believable story about how the office had been raided, and everything from his cube taken into evidence. Freaked him out so bad that we had to come clean with him almost immediately. We had an issue with our door access system once, and random cards wouldn't work. No announcement was made, so we started a rumor that there were layoffs, and people were finding out when their card didn't work. I was walking in with a young guy the next day and his card didn't work. He just dies inside, chin to his chest, shoulders dropped, shuffle foot walking back to the elevator. Had to tell him immediately. Plugged in a spare USB keyboard into my coworker's desktop. Would randomly hold down the shift key when he was entering his password, lock his terminal when he turned around to talk to someone, or tap the Windows key while he was typing. I'm not good at not laughing. I managed to hold it in for 4 days, until he finally lost it and started smashing his keyboard and unplugging all the USB cables. He got to the one for the extra keyboard, looked around, then yanked on the cable hard, and the spare keyboard skipped across my desk and slammed into my cube wall. I laughed so hard I cried for almost 15 minutes. Did that with a mouse and a coworker who sat on the other side of the cube wall from me. I would randomly right-click, scroll, or jiggle the mouse throughout the day. Didn't do it too often though, so I kept doing it for a few weeks. Best day was when I heard her huffing and puffing after I had done it for the 4th time that morning. So I walked over but kept the mouse in my pocket. There was a partition I could stand behind and see over, but she couldn't see below my shoulders. I asked what was wrong, and she started explaining what was happening. As she was explaining it, I right-clicked and scrolled with the mouse in my pocket. When that happened, she goes, "Look, there it is. What is going on?" Maybe, coworker who previously was sitting there and was fired, hacked my computer. 2 of my coworkers sat across from each other. One day they were both out and our boss says, "Hey, let's switch their cubes while they're gone." So we did exactly that. We literally moved everything so their desks were exactly the same but on opposite sides. When someone would go on vacation at a place I worked, they would usually come back to find some minor prank, mouse ball wrapped in tape sort of things. One guy was not well liked. He was pretty well disliked, actually. He went on vacation and when he returned he found his 4 feet tall cubicle closed off by clear packing tape and filled entirely with packing peanuts. We all found it much funnier than he did, as I recall. It's small but I have a friend at work who keeps leaving his computer unlocked. I go into the mouse settings and slow down the mouse movement as much as possible. We have 3 huge monitors, and it's such a hilarious time to watch him try to mouse back over to the settings window that I've hidden in the bottom corner of one of the monitors. Change his cursor appearance to the loading one. The one that appears when Windows is busy. This will drive him crazy. Pretty simple to do, but zip tie the lever that adjusts the height of the chair so that when they sit in it, it lowers all the way down. Then when they get up, it raises back up. It will take them a minute to think about looking under the seat, and it's funny to watch them sink when they sit down. Not my prank, my grandfather's. Back before I was born, he had a wealthy boss who always drove to work in really nice cars. They had dedicated employee parking spots, so you could always tell it was the boss car from, first, the spot second, the quality third, the vanity plate, which always read dog X with the X being whatever number of car it was that he owned. So one day, my grandfather, who never sees anything as too far for a joke, bought the cheapest, oldest used car he could find, gave it the dog license plate for whatever was next in line, and parked it in his boss spot. My buddy had this hand lotion on his desk that he used every day as soon as he got into work. I found the same brand bottle and bought it, emptied it out, then filled it full of mayonnaise. Made sure it was the same weight as his current lotion before making the switch, just in case. He came in and used it. I screwed up and started laughing way too hard and had to fess up. Who knows how long he would have kept putting mayo on his hands before realizing something was up. I put a box of water on a coworker's forklift with the intention of him getting on and getting soaked. Well, the warehouse bigwig director came around the corner and hopped on real quick to move the forklift, and the joke's punchline was not near as funny. I used to be a production manager, and anytime we would get someone new on the shop floor, I would tell them that our maintenance supervisor, who was in on this, needed help moving some equipment in the basement. All they had to do was walk through the 2 doors at the north side of the building and said, "Maintenance super," would be waiting. There was no basement. Not an office, but my teachers in middle school would pull a prank on students every year. They would find out who hasn't seen Back to the Future. Then teacher A would say, "Damn, I can't find my flux capacitor. John, can you go ask Mr. Smith if he has my flux capacitor?" Then Mr. Smith would send John to Mrs. Holly saying he lent it to her, but then Mrs. Holly would say she gave it to Dr. Ferdinand, and so on. John ends up walking back and forth around the school for about 30 minutes, all the while, every class in the entire school is laughing at John behind his back for not knowing what a flux capacitor is. Looking back at it, this was probably pretty mean and embarrassing to do to middle school students. But the teachers always seemed to know which students were able to take a joke and not get too upset by it. Had a similar prank played on me and a few others once. We were new to the military, and were told to go find chem light batteries which don't exist. We went off pretending to look for them, but we really just found a spot to hide and do nothing for the day. The guy in charge felt bad because he thought we were looking all day. We never told him who really got pranked.